Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Declutter, Simplicity. Today we want to talk about how minimalism impacted our eating habits and also our kitchens. So, should be a fun one. Let's dive
Yes,
in.
let's do it.
So the first question is, how did minimalism change the way you approach food and cooking? This is actually a hard question for me to answer because um, here's the situation in my household. My husband is a chef. He worked as an actual chef in restaurants. And he loves food and he loves cooking. It brings him a lot of joy. It's basically a hobby. With me, it's the complete opposite. I eat to survive when
Hmm.
I'm alone sometimes. And then I feed my family for them to enjoy their food, but to mostly nourish them. Uh, that brings me joy in knowing that I've fed them,
Hmm.
but it brings me very little joy when I cook. So, you know, before we had our son, who's almost 2 now, my husband cooked a lot. He cooked the majority of time because he liked doing it, and we had all the gadgets, and he was spending a lot of time cooking. And then we had our son, who is now a toddler,
Hmm.
and toddlers have a very sophisticated palate. Okay, we're talking about like French fries and sausages, sometimes yogurt if you're lucky, most of the time berries. It's not so much that minimalism changed our habits, but more
Hmm.
so my son kind of made this shift in our family dynamic where I cook now because my husband wants to cook like sophisticated nice meals,
Right.
but because I need to feed all of us in one go, it's more simple meals that I'm happy to cook. But another thing is that, I've mentioned that I've been in kind of the environmental field for a while. So I've actually been learning about food and the production of food for probably 10 to 15 years now, just because
Hmm.
of once you start working in like environmental fields, whatever they are, you kind
Hmm.
of um, start learning about other things too that are adjacent to, like if you're learning about renewable energy, perhaps you're learning also about agriculture and some aspects of production of food. So I've actually been on this journey, so to speak, of cleaning up my diet. First of all, my parents were always really good about us eating clean foods or whole foods. And then, when we moved to Canada, there's so much processed foods and so much stuff. Different companies that are large companies that you need to be aware of, like what kind of fertilizers they're using and other stuff. So, anyways, long story short is to say that I'm not sure that minimalism specifically um, influenced my eating habits, but it was certainly working environmental field and now having a toddler where I really focus on the simplest foods possible. I always read ingredients, and I've read that for many, many years now. And we just choose the simplest things. Mostly just like a protein salad, maybe a grain here and there, and some dairy, and obviously berries.
For me, I think it was not minimalism. I think it was actually the pandemic, and I decided to do a complete reset of my life. And one of the things I decided to do was embark on a health journey. So the first thing that I did, I stopped drinking, so I no longer drink alcohol. I stopped eating red meat. I stopped eating pork. So now I eat seafood, chicken as proteins. And another thing that I decided to try out to see if I was going to like it, if my body was going to adapt to it, I stopped having breakfast. So now,
So intermittent fasting.
yeah, so I started doing intermittent fasting. I have black coffee in the morning.
Wait, how's that going for you?
It's going great.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you enjoy. So you eat like basically a lunch and a dinner within like 8 hours or so.
Yes, like a 7 hour window. So I eat between noon and 7 p.m. And I have a black coffee in the morning because coffee is very important in my culture. In the Brazilian culture, coffee is like our
Yeah.
blood. So I have a black coffee in the morning. and then I eat at noon. I have a salad that I make myself every single day. Um, and then in the afternoon, I have another coffee, and then I have some cookies or something or chocolate. Oh, yeah. And then I have dinner at 7, and dinner consists of I use a service from a company where it's chef prepared meals
uh,
that come every week delivered to my
yeah.
door, and I try them and they're amazing. It's amazing. And I that's what I'm doing for dinner.
That's awesome. You know what I think people don't realize is that we don't need as much food as we think we do. And we're also kind of not sold specifically, but like push, like, oh, you have to have like, like have a smoothie and then have, um, a snack of this, and
Yeah.
then, you need like this for lunch and this for breakfast and this for dinner. And then so what happens is we start over consuming food just like
Yes.
we're over consuming everything else in our lives. It's driven by advertisements and then by influencers and people who get paid by these companies. And ultimately I think a few years ago I was kind of experiencing some pains in my stomach, so I went
Mm-hmm.
to this incredible gastroenterologist. What are they called?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Back home in Russia, in Moscow. And so I was talking to her, and I'm like, my stomach is not doing well. And she's just like, yeah. She's like, listen, like, what people don't know is that you actually don't need as much food as you think you do. And she's like, and she also touched on supplements. And again, like, we're not doctors, by the way. Like,
Right.
we're not not even like certified nutritionists. You should not listen to us. Do not take our advice. But anyways, what she was saying, she was like, like these days, the way that food production happens, like the way that cucumbers are grown or
Mm-hmm.
whatever else it is, she's like, they're packed with nutrition. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of like truly organic or truly natural things
Mm-hmm.
that are just kind of happening by themselves in our world anymore.
So yeah, for me, I feel like I agree with you. I used to overeat. I used to overconsume food, and now that I don't, another thing that I forgot to mention is that I stopped eating, stopped drinking cow milk, and I replaced it for oat milk, and I felt a difference in my stomach. And this was all during the pandemic. I was trying different things and seeing what. Listen to your body. That's my advice
I
here.
literally was about to say the same thing. You
Yeah.
need to listen to your body, and that's with a lot of things in our life, that we need to listen to our body.
Yes.
Not only when.
Because the body keeps the
Mhm.
score.
Yeah, it does. It
Yeah.
does.
So basically, I keep trying. Like you need to have a scientist mindset. You keep trying new things and seeing what works, what doesn't work. This is me now.
Mm.
When I eliminated these things, I feel better.
Yeah.
My body feels better. I'm not saying that you should do it. I'm saying that I did it for myself and it works for me.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
And that's perfect for you. Like, if you feel amazing,
Yeah.
incredible, you feel like you don't need to supplement with a lot of
Yeah.
different vitamins, then go for it. Like with me, it's the opposite. I'm mostly on a carnivore diet, and I've haven't felt really well my entire life, like really like severely deficient in iron. It really showed itself when I was pregnant, and the baby takes so much iron from
Mm-hmm.
you, and I had to take like an insane amount of supplements just to
Mm-hmm.
like fill that like gap.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of my friends are carnivores, so they kind of mentioned it to me. I looked into it and I was like, okay, well, let me try it. And I've never felt better in my entire life. I feel like I'm finally free of a million different vitamins and supplements that kind of just helped me um not feel fainty every
Yeah.
second of every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so funny because you're this big guy and you're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
eating this small, and I'm like, I'm this
Yeah.
small girl, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm eating carnivore.
And to me the trick was, and it's silly, instead of having like this huge plate, I started eating several different things in smaller plates.
I love that.
Question number S: what was your kitchen like before adopting minimalism?
So I was already a minimalist when I met my husband, who is a hobby chef. and we brought a lot of things into our kitchen. But the thing is that we always lived in small spaces,
Right.
and so we had a lot of stuff, but it was kind of limited by the space we had. And I've been noticing that even with my husband's hobby, he doesn't actually use gadgets, and he doesn't need much. He just has like a chef's knife that he loves,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like I want to say like maybe like two or three gadgets, and that's including the coffee machine.
Right.
So
Right.
he got some gifts, or he thought something was fun and he got it, but it all got decluttered because I keep track.
Right.
Like if it hasn't been used in three to
Mm-hmm.
six months, it goes, and he knows that rule. He knows
Right.
it. So he sometimes he asks me, but 99% of the time he never even mentions whatever goes.
To me, it was because I used to live in a house. My kitchen was more cluttered than it is now. Definitely, there was a lot more gadgets when I was married.
Mhm.
My ex-wife is a baker, so there was a lot of baking stuff
Mm.
around, and I am not a baker, so
But
there's
are you
no.
consumer of baked
Oh
goods?
yeah, but there's I support local businesses and they bake the goods for me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah. So my kitchen now, you're going to see on our Instagram account, we're going to post photos of our
Mm,
kitchens and our pantries.
pantries.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person as I'm a graphic designer, videographer, photographer. So visual clutter really bothers me.
Mhm.
So yeah, I cannot have anything on my counter except my coffee machine.
You're good. You
Yeah.
guys are gonna see it on Instagram. So when Raf put in his photos of the kitchen in the our share drive, I was like, "Oh my god, my kitchen is so like just dirty and disorganized." But anyways, you'll see. You guys will be the judges.
I'm a tea kettle. I have a toaster. So one thing that's very important to me is I have a food grinder. So all the leftovers they go in the food grinder and it
Mm.
grinds the food and then it becomes like solid
That came
kind
with
of
your
powder.
apartment,
No,
or
no, no. I bought
you
it.
bought it?
I bought it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah. I
awesome.
had it in the house and then I brought it over to the
What do
condo.
you
It's
do with the waste? Where do you put it?
so then we have a composting program in the building.
Mm.
So I just bring it down, but it's like it's dried. It's like
Mm.
powder. It becomes powder,
Oh
and
my
you
god.
can put like
Yeah.
meat. You can put anything in it, and it
Yeah.
dehydrates and
If you had plants, that would be such great food for them.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, food. I have an air fryer that I use every week.
Yeah.
I also have a fondue machine because I love fondue. Is the one that I don't use a lot, but I like when I have it because it's just easy, right?
Yeah.
Cheese fondue or chocolate fondue.
Have like a very simple coffee machine. I think it was like $100, but honestly, it's been a part of our life for probably 4 years now, and it's been working. I really love it. So we grind our beans and we make ourselves a little espresso.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And then we have like a food processor,
Mm-hmm.
like to make smoothies.
Yeah.
It's one of those complicated ones where you can make ice cream and you can make
Right.
soups and like all the things.
Okay. Next question. What is the most cluttered area in your kitchen, and how do you manage it?
I have almost a 2-year-old toddler, and he is the best QA for our apartment quality assurance tester. He, now that he's growing up, he's more independent, and I want to encourage that independence. And so, before, when he was kind of like a baby crawling around or like barely walking,
Mm-hmm.
all the cupboards in our kitchen were closed with these like baby protective thingies. So our I felt like our kitchen was cluttered, to be honest with you, and I felt like with our son eating more of our food, we
Mm-hmm.
simplified our meals, but there was so much just like extra stuff laying around, both in our pantry and just in different cupboards. But anyways, now that he is walking around, and I want him to go into the pantry and
Mm-hmm.
get a snack for himself, and I want him to maybe, he helps me every morning unload the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
So he does like, or for example, he throws like some of his garbage, he goes and puts it in the garbage, and our garbage is under our sink in the kitchen. So there's the actual garbage, and then there's two recycling bins.
Right.
So I want him to like open the cupboards and go and put it where it belongs. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like a, and he's loving these chores, right? Like he feels like such a big boy
Awesome.
when he does all of that. But that made me rethink a lot in our kitchen. And I feel like I'm constantly playing Tetris, just everything that's dangerous, I try to put it as high
Right.
as possible,
Of
and then
course.
everything that I want him to access or play with, I'm trying to move around. And so our kitchen has been in this transition, to be honest with you, like just in the past few months, where even with our pantry, I took a lot out. Mind you, also, you should check your pantry staples, like how old are they, when do they
Right.
expire?
Right.
But, anyways, a lot of it got decluttered, and I simplified and got rid of a lot of things that could like hurt him accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think the most cluttered areas were, and still
Mm-hmm.
is like we have like a bottom drawer with like all the spatulas, but
Right.
somehow a lot of other things ended up there. So it's like two spatulas and then like literally 15 other things that I like just close my eyes. Like I just open the drawer, I take a spatula and then I close it and I'm like, oh, it's not good. But like sometimes my husband uses them for like the soups he makes or whatever, and I know that he uses that stuff. It's just that it's like a, once in a few months situation, so I can't really declutter it, but it's also dangerous for our son, so I keep that
Right.
really closed. And then the pantry was cluttered, and I cleared that out recently because he goes in and he actually sits inside as he's like having his snack. He doesn't
Okay.
close it, like
He
it's not like
sits in the
he
pantry. It's a
just like,
walk-in pantry. He
yeah,
sits in,
it's not a walk-in pantry. It's just like a cupboard,
but
which is
he.
like 30 centimeters
Right.
wide and maybe like a meter and a
Right.
half tall and like a meter deep or
Right.
so. So he just likes, because he's still small, so he kind of just sits there with his like legs
Right.
dangling, and he has his little like applesauce or like
Mm-hmm.
other snacks. So
Mm-hmm.
and I want him to feel empowered. Like I want him to explore our kitchen and like help me out and feel like he contributes, and he loves all of that. So even with our where the coffee machine stands, the counter, he kind of learned how to get on top there, like through a
Mm-hmm.
few different furniture items. So now he stands and he watches how I make my coffee. And before, it had a few different things. Like I would just put things on our counter because like there
Mm-hmm.
was space. But now that he's gotten to crawl or
Mm-hmm.
like to climb, sorry, on top of it, kind of
Mm-hmm.
ish, I just took everything away and
Right.
simplified it even more.
Yeah,
So
because you have to keep adapting as he's getting
yeah,
more
and I was thinking about it,
agile.
like it would have been such an overwhelming process for me if I had so much stuff, like so
Right.
many gadgets. I would not be able to move them around
Mm-hmm.
because where would I put them? But because I have the space, I just move them around and it all kind of naturally fits, and it allows for my son to grow up being involved.
For me, the most cluttered area in my kitchen when I was in the house was the container drawer. We had a lot of plastic
Mm,
containers, and some of the containers did not have lids anymore.
of
The lids
course.
were mismatched and all that.
Hmm.
And I got glass containers with matching lids. For me, it's very important to have an organized pantry and have the appliances in one side and the food in the other side. So what I've done is I put zones of things using winter boot trays. So last question for this episode: where do you shop for food?
I really like this one YouTuber who's a minimalist, and I'm blanking on her name now, but she just this week she posted a video on YouTube which she called
Mm-hmm.
like "I shop at Costco." As a minimalist, I shop at Costco,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally commented, and I was just like, "Girl, we're filming an episode this week, and we're gonna talk about how we shop at Costco."
Yeah.
You could be, it's not like minimalism is about simplifying, and you and I
Yes.
talk about it a lot. So Raf and I shop at Costco, and we are all about simplifying our lives. And if Costco provides that service for us,
Hmm.
then great. So I've mentioned that I'm also on a carnivore diet,
Right.
and spoiler alert, protein costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Um, you know, Costco is one of those places where we go and
Yeah.
we get a ton of protein and veggies and fruits.
Yeah.
And um, we have a 2-year-old son, which you would think, oh, like it's just a small child. How can he ever add so much to your food bill? Surprisingly, he does, and it's a lot. I can't
Hmm.
tell you the amount of eggs we go through, and the Costco size
Yeah.
is just the right size for us for like the week.
It makes sense for a family to shop at Costco. So yeah, I used to shop at Costco. Now that I live by myself, so I go down to the ground floor. There is a supermarket there. So I shop there every week. I get everything fresh, and I'm supporting them because
Mm-hmm.
obviously I want them to stay in business because they're inside my building. I
Mm-hmm.
go down in shorts when it's minus 25 outside.
Right.
So obviously I want to support them. Another thing that I decided to adopt now that I live closer to my work and closer to downtown, no longer in the suburbs, is that I don't use my car during the week.
Yeah.
And the closest Costco to me, I would have to drive there. So that's
Yeah.
another reason why I stopped shopping there. But it's a great place. If you have more than one person in your
Yeah.
household, it already makes a difference.
But you know what I think it kind of maybe pushes people to buy a lot of things in bulk, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
they're like, well, if you shop at Costco, how do you like keep all of that? But the thing is, we shop there strategically. So if we consume a lot of whole foods and protein,
Right.
you know, I package it and then it goes into the freezer, and then I buy just enough vegetables for the week or the next 2 weeks that I think we'll need. But and you know, diapers is a big one. When you have a child,
Yes, of course.
they just go through
Of
that a
course.
lot, so that makes sense. But it does not make sense for us to keep like 2 massive jars of honey or
Right.
other things. And I was actually thinking about it. So we do Costco, and then we do just like a regular stores. There's a
Mm-hmm.
few just regular stores, supermarkets that we go
Right.
to that we really enjoy. Some of them like specialty foods, like we go to the Russian store,
Right.
and we go to a store that's related to my husband's background and
Right.
things like that. So we, you know, and I think I was just I put up this reel on Instagram recently where I talked about how I went from being a mom to becoming a working mom, and how it
Mm-hmm.
was this week has been really overwhelming for me. And I've been just looking to get rid of everything in my sight that drives me crazy or just takes me the wrong way.
So the visual clutter
The
is
visual
bothering
clutter,
you.
and having things in bulk actually stresses me out, like you wouldn't believe. It's
Interesting.
always stressed me out, but when I had like a low level of stress generally in my life, I
Mm-hmm.
would kind of accept it ish, even though I would think about it all the time.
Right.
But now that my stress level is high,
Mm-hmm.
everything in bulk drives me crazy. And I also don't think you need it. Like, even when we had like massive ice storms and snowstorms
Right.
and, you know, electricity, there was like power outages here in Ottawa, and there was COVID, all these things. My husband and I never had our pantry full to, you know, the brim, because we're like, oh no, like how would we get food? Or like, we never prepare for that kind of doom and gloom scenario,
Right.
because ultimately you need to remember that we do live in North America and things are available. So you don't need to stock up on a ton of things, even in your pantry. Just have what you actually eat and what
Mm-hmm.
you would eat in the next 3 to 6 months. The worst moment that I can remember out of all the snowstorms and out of all the just natural disasters here that have ever happened to us, the worst scenario was probably when I gave birth to my son, and he went on formula for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was kind of COVID-ish times, or right after, there was massive shortages of baby formula.
Right.
And that was the only time in 20 years that I was stressed about
Mm-hmm.
a food item, but not
Right.
even for myself or my baby. And even with that, we were always able to locate it.
Right.
There wasn't a day or a feeding time that he skipped because he didn't have formula.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this week's episode. Anastasia, what is the question of the week?
So the question of the week is, what is your favorite food?
Don't forget to find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and behind the scenes photos of our episodes and photos of our places on Instagram. Until next time on Yet to Clutter, Sim to Simplicity, where we cut through the chaos and help you simplify life, work, and everything in between.
Bye.